Are there concerns with the Oklahoma Sooners going into the 2023 season along the offensive line? Because if you're the Sooners, this past season, you lost a former five-star in Bray Walker, who has recently committed to Texas State. You lost Marcus Alexander, who also ended up at Texas State. But then you also just lost a recent guy in Colin Montgomery to the transfer portal as well. If you look at the offensive line, depth might be a problem for the Oklahoma Sooners in 2023, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to discuss it. We're going to look at the options. We're going to look at what the Oklahoma Sooners have. Maybe, just maybe, it's not as big of a deal as we think. But if you guys haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know what you all are thinking down in the comments below. Do you think the Oklahoma Sooners are going to have offensive line depth issues going into the 2023 season? So, the offensive line, I would say one of the more crucial parts of your team, especially if you have a quarterback, because, well, you got to protect your good quarterback. Dillon Gabriel has talked about how he wants to get more comfortable throwing in the pocket this season. That's something that he is working on. He's going to work on it. If he wants to do that this season, he's got to have a stellar offensive line in front of him. Now, the good news is, if you're the Oklahoma Sooners, you have one of the best offensive line coaches and developers in the country in Bill Bedenbaugh. Not to mention, you have an offensive coordinator in Jeff Lebby, who played at the University of Oklahoma on the offensive line. So, when it comes to developing these guys, I don't think there's going to be much of a problem there. Where I start to gain some concerns is mainly the depth. And here's the reason why. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 true freshmen this year coming in on the offensive line. A couple of those guys who you might have to rely on. One of those being Caden Green. I think Logan Howland and Heath Ozaida could definitely be guys that you could look at. I'm curious where Joshua Bates falls into this, because as long as Andrew Rame is there and Andrew Rame can stay healthy, I don't think you see too much Joshua Bates action this season. But again, that's a case-by-case scenario. But you've got redshirt freshman Gunnar Allen there as well. You've got Kevin Wormy coming in, not on campus. Ty Kubicek, not on campus. Heath Ozaida, currently not on campus yet either. And then Logan Howland, which that one intrigues me a little bit, because Logan Howland was a late bloomer in the class of 2023, switching to the offensive line from a tight end position in high school. And he quickly started to climb the rankings. And I think that one is kind of intriguing a little bit. Something that I think we'll have to keep our eyes on to see just how Logan Howland progresses with Bill Bedenbaugh. Because, I mean, listen, in one season, jumped up to a 4-star as an offensive tackle. It doesn't get much better than that. But looking at some of the other guys that they have returning, you got Savion Byrd, Jake Taylor, Jacob Sexton as sophomores. That's a pretty good sophomore room there. As juniors, you got Aaron Parks, Tyler Guyton, Nate Anderson. Great dudes. Seniors, Caleb Schaefer, McCade Mattower, Andrew Rame, Walter Rouse. This is going to intrigue me right here, because in this group, you have 4 guys that are not returning next year. And then as juniors, you have Tyler Guyton, who, if he goes out there and has a really good season, you could see him potentially declare. So at the end of the season, Oklahoma could have 5 offensive linemen in the NFL draft. That's a lot. It's a lot to lose. So Oklahoma's got to be able to rebound. And in 2023, they had a great recruiting cycle. You landed Caden Green, who has already showed his flashes in practice and in the spring game that he can be that dude for Oklahoma, especially on the left side. You got Joshua Bates, who is, in all honesty, looks like the future at the center position for Oklahoma, but maybe he gets switched around to another position. You got Logan Howland, like I said, really curious to see how this one develops here. I'm really curious to see how his skill set blossoms under Bill Bedenbaugh. I think he definitely needs a year in the program, put a little bit more muscle on him, put a little bit more meat on him. But I think Logan Howland really could be a great offensive tackle for the University of Oklahoma. Then you've got Hito Zaida. I think this is a guy that could come in, and if he puts in solid work this summer, maybe Hito Zaida is a good backup for you going into the 2023 season. But then you look at the sophomores, Jake Taylor and Jacob Sexton, who got hurt in the FSU game, but I mean, was playing meaningful minutes for you last year. I think Oklahoma is fine in the talent that they have. I'm not saying that there's issues, saying that the guys that they have aren't good enough. But I look at this depth and I go, maybe Oklahoma needs to take at least one more guy in the portal, because there are portal guys out there. But definitely in the 2024 class, they need to hit on some of these guys, and they might need to take 4 or 5 offensive line. Now, 5 seems a little excessive, but maybe they need to take 3 to 4. But I look at the offensive line in terms of who is available in the transfer portal now. Well, you got Miles Muro, who was one of the top offensive line prospects in that 2020 class, committed to Washington. A lot of people thought he was going to go to USC. He's from Mater Dei. So I would say, hey, probably got a little bit of USC ties there. Probably could end up there with Lincoln Riley now. However, Kyle Flood at Alabama was recruiting him. So maybe Miles Muro ends up at Texas. I will say this. I think that this could be a take for the Sooners. My thing is, I think Miles is probably going to want to go somewhere where he can start. Probably going to go the USC route at that point. USC needs help on that offensive line. Just an idea, just a thought process there. There's also Ben Chrisman from Ohio State. Again, guys, I'm looking at guys that are higher rated in the portal and saying Oklahoma should definitely sniff the air on these guys, but they're probably looking for starting opportunities. So they might not be takes. The guys that I'm looking at, Oklahoma, Bill Bedenbaugh, those guys could be looking at maybe some lower tier guys in the portal that have higher upside in terms of development. So that's just something to look at. But Ohio State lost Ben Chrisman to the transfer portal, a 6'6", 299-pound inside offensive lineman. That could be a take. Again, I think he would probably be looking to go somewhere where he could potentially start. But he's got really good arm talent, good blocking techniques. That could definitely be someone that the Oklahoma Sooners could potentially take, because, again, they might need a little bit more depth in the 2023 season. Both of those guys would give you a little bit more eligibility, so maybe you get them for another year or two after that. So what could the Oklahoma Sooners be looking at in the 2024 class? Obviously, you've heard a lot about Casey Poe. Casey Poe, I think, is definitely a priority for the Oklahoma Sooners. He's got to be a priority. Out of Lindell, Texas, you've heard you're in a good position. Alabama's in there. So Casey Poe, I say he's a take. I say he ends up in this class. We're going to have to see kind of where that one lands. You've got Jason Zandamela, who currently, I think, if I remember correctly, from Clearwater, Florida, has an official visit set up with Florida State and Oklahoma. So that's going to be a battle to watch. Can Oklahoma go out there and land the 6'3", 285-pound offensive lineman from Clearwater, Florida, out of Clearwater Academy International? Additionally, you got guys like Eddie Pierre-Louis, who I've seen you guys comment lots about. You got Alabama, you got Florida, you got OU. OU is his dream school, or he really likes OU, grew up loving OU. This one's going to be interesting. You guys have seen the videos of Eddie Pierre on the track. Would be, I think, great. Again, you're going to have to take probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 offensive linemen in this class. So, listen, it's not out of the possibility for Oklahoma to go out there and get these guys. Now, I look at offensive tackles. You've got Caden Massey, who Parker Thune over at Rivals now has been really excited about. The 6'7", 270-pound offensive tackle. Listen, this could be one of those guys that is sneaky good in this class. Sneaky good. Those are the guys you want, because those are the guys that end up being really good for Bill Bedenbaugh, like an Orlando Brown or somebody like that. So Caden Massey out of Linden, Kansas, currently a 3-star. This is ranked 755 nationally ranked player. Caden Massey could be a take. Now, you've got Kansas, you've got Kansas State, obviously in there since he's from Kansas. So, you'll Kansas State and Kansas, we got to respect Kansas now that Lance Leipold's got that program going in the right direction. But this should be a position, or this should be a guy that the Oklahoma Sooners could win. Like, I don't think the Oklahoma Sooners, if they want this kid, I don't think they lose him. You've got Isaiah Autry, who is currently committed to the University of Oklahoma at 6'6", 290 pounds. Dude is just a big dog. That's what he is. He's big. He's going to be able to provide depth. He's going to be able to add to this class who's already committed, assuming OU is able to retain that commitment. Not saying they can't or there's any worry there, but it's still kind of early in this class. We're not close to the end yet, so we're going to say if they can retain Isaiah Autry. You've also got Weston Davis out of Beaumont, Texas, quickly rising up the rankings at number 171 right now. You got Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, all of those normal teams that are going to be able to go after a lot of these top-tier offensive linemen. So when I say top-tier offensive linemen, here's what I'm looking at. How many offers do they have, and who are those offers from? Because you can have 20 offers, but if they're from small schools, well, that kind of tells you a little something. But if you got 23 offers and you got offers from the likes of Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, yeah, guess what? You might have some talent there because all of the top recruiters in the country, all of those top offensive line coaches are wanting you. So keep our eyes on that one. Bennett Warren, another one of those dudes, 6'7", 315. I think he ends up in the class. Currently got 31 offers. Again, elite offers. Oregon, Michigan, Tennessee. Those are teams you got to watch out for in this recruitment with Oklahoma. But I like where Oklahoma's at with Bennett Warren. We've had him here on the podcast, so we'll have to keep following that recruitment as much as we can. Grant Bricks, another guy that Parker Thune has definitely been excited and talked about, a guy out of Logan, Iowa. He's told you guys, listen, if you guys don't follow Parker Thune and Brandon Drum over now at Rivals, no longer at 247, now at Rivals, you need to go over there and follow them. Go check out their podcast because they talk about a lot of this stuff in depth. But Grant Bricks, you're hearing this might be an Iowa-Oklahoma battle. I listen, if Iowa's in it, I would assume Nebraska's in it. Listen, it shows that they're warm on the 247 thing. You mean Nebraska? Like, if they get Dylan Raiola, they're going to need offensive tackles. They're going to need offensive linemen. And Grant Bricks could be that guy that kind of helps anchor down that class for Dylan Raiola. And then you got, of course, the, I guess, prize jewel of the class, Brandon Baker out of Mater Dei. Now, remember, in California, you can have your NIL deals in college or in high school. So what you're hearing is this recruitment might not wrap up quickly. This recruitment could drag on. So maybe Bill Bedenbaugh really tries to put on the pressure and tries to land one of the top offensive linemen, offensive tackle, whatever you want to call him, in this class. Brandon Baker, the 6'5", 285-pound offensive tackle out of Mater Dei. You would imagine Oregon, USC, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, all of these teams are going to be in the running for Brandon Baker. I think he even has Colorado in his top school list. So something we're going to have to keep an eye on. But that's what I'm saying. Depth for the Oklahoma Sooners. It can be fixed. You can go get guys in the portal. The 2024 class, make an emphasis, make a focus to go out there and get you some scholarship guys, get you some dudes on that offensive line. Because listen, if you tell them, we got 5 guys that could potentially go to the draft this year. 1, that sounds really good. But 2, that means there is opportunity opening up there. So, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like and the subscribe button. Let me know what you all are thinking down in the comments below. Should there be cause for concern with the Oklahoma Sooners on the offensive line in terms of depth? Or, hey, am I just being crazy?